All right. In this video, I am going to create this beautiful wavy tunnel-like pattern using the Blender geometry node, and how we can add the wave displacement and also the noise displacement to this structure. So how we can create this beautiful motion graphic effects. And if you like this kind of procedural motion graphic effects, then you can visit my Patreon where you find a lot of procedural stuff. So how you can create this beautiful animation. Now let's jump into the tutorial. All right, we are in Blender, and I am going to start with the mesh line. So for that, here I select this cube and enter into the geometry node workspace. And here I hit this new button to create a new node setup. And here I delete this group input and search for the mesh line and connect this with the group output. Now we have this mesh line in our 3D viewport, and I want to rotate this along the x-axis. So for that, here I search for the transform geometry and connect it here, and here I change this rotation angle to 90 degree to rotate this mesh line along the x-axis. And this is actually the mesh, and I want to make some tunnel or a tube-like structure. So for that, this is the mesh. Here I search for the mesh to curve, and now this output will give the curve. And here I search for curve to mesh and connect it here. And now I use this profile curve to make this a tube. So for that, here I search for the curve circle and connect with the profile curve. Now we have this tube-like structure, which we can change into the wavy tunnel-like pattern. To turn this tube into the wave-like pattern, here I add some displacement to this tube-like structure. So for that, here I search for the Z position node and connect it here, and also search for the combine XYZ, place it here. So we can treat these individual axes to find some suitable displacement to this. And here I search for the wave texture and connect with the z-axis. Now we have this kind of pattern. Here I make some adjustment in this wave texture. We decrease the scale. You can see our curve is low poly. So for that, here I increase this resolution up to 64, and also before this mesh to curve node, because this is the mesh line. Here I search for the subdivision mesh and connect it here and make this level up to 5. Now we have fully subdivided cube in our 3D viewport. Now here I make some changes in the wave texture, detail to the 0, and also make this scale very small, something like that. You can see our cube is stretched along the z-axis. So for that, here I search for the math node to bring this back into the original pattern, and here I change this to the multiply. Now we have this back in the middle of our 3D cursor along the x-axis. And to reduce this upper and lower big areas, here I decrease this value very small, something like that. Now we have fully wavy pattern on this tunnel. Our wave texture is applied to our tube. Now I add the noise texture. So for that, here I again search for the set position node because I want to add the noise displacement to this tube, and also shift D to duplicate this, combine XYZ and connect with this. And here I search for the noise texture, place it here and connect with the Z. Now you can see our noise texture, and here I change this to the 40. So we can use this W value to animate this. And here I decrease this scale very small, something like that. Very little noise to this tunnel, and bring this whole tube to the center of this 3D cursor. So for that, here I search again for the math node and change this to the multiply. And here I increase this value, something like that, to strengthen the noise displacement. Now we have this kind of pattern. And here I also make this more smooth, add a set shade smooth node. And here I add the material. For that, here I search for the set material node. And here in material properties, I create a new material and select this material in the geometry node. And I want to increase the length of this tunnel. So here in the mesh line, we can change this count to increase the length, something like this. Now we have this. Before enter into the material, here I set the camera for this. So for that, here find the view. I think this is looking nice view. And search for the camera. Here I add the camera to our scene and Control Alt 0 to in the camera view. Now we have this kind of pattern to make this camera in the middle of this tunnel. And also here in the camera icon, I decrease this focal length to adjust our view. I think this is looking here. This is looking nice. Now our camera is set in our 3D viewport. Now I want to apply the material. So for that, here I select this tube and enter into the material workspace, and also in our camera view and also in our material view. So we can see our material. And here I search for the color ramp and place it here and connect with the base color. And here I want to apply the wave texture because this pattern is looking like a wavy pattern. So for that, here I search for the wave texture and connect this with the color ramp. Now we have this. And here I make this detail to 0. And here I want to apply the color for this. So for that, here I select the black pointer and choose the color, something like this. And now select this pointer, and here I also use the same color to copy this hex code and select this and place it here. Now we have this type of color to our this tunnel like tube structure. Now this is the very simple color, and here I decrease this roughness to make this more shiny. So here it's looking nice. Now I want to add the some background to this hole and also add some light to this. So for that, here I enter into the layout, and here I search for the plane and rotate this along y-axis to 90 degree, and also scale this something like that. Control A to apply the scale and move this plane along the x-axis, something like here, and also in camera view and select this. And here I create a new material for this plane, and here I change this material to the emission. So we have a emission material. To see this material, we enter into this material view, and also here we enter into the compositing. Before enter into the compositing, we have just one frame rendered in our scene, so we can compose the emission color. After rendered just one frame, here I enter into the compositing and hit this use node button, and here I search for the fog glow and place it here, and also here we cannot see too much emission. So for that, here enter into this emission strength, and here I increase this up to the 5. You cannot see the emission because we rendered this again to do this compositing. So for that, here I render this again. Here you can see after the render this again, you can see the light from our emission source is coming into our tunnel. Now we are enter into this layout, and here I use this EV rendered engine for this, and also in camera view. And to see our compositing effect, here I enter into this rendered view and also hit this to see our emission. Now we have this, and here I also add the light to our scene. So we can see here I search for the light, which is the spotlight, and select it here, and rotate this light along y-axis to minus 90 degree, and also make this light move along the x-axis, so we can see this in our camera view. Now we have this type of pattern, and here in the light, here I increase this power. We can see in the rendered view, here I increase this power and also increase this exposure. You can see our light, and also decrease this ring of light size from this value. Here you can see, and also again our rendered view. Nice. Now we have this. Now I want to add the animation. So for that, we enter again into the geometry node and select this tube. And here I want to add the animation, this noise texture. So for that, here I end this frame up to the 120, and also start from the frame 0, because I want to make this animation fully looping. So for looping, we always start from frame 0. And here I select this noise texture, Shift D to duplicate this. And here I search for the mix color, place it here, and connect this with the A, and this factor with the B, and the result of this mix color with our multiply. Now we have this. Now I hover this W value, hit I to insert the keyframe, and also this factor to the 0, and hit I to insert the keyframe. Now we jump into the last frame, and here I put the 1, and hit I to insert the keyframe, and also make this factor to fully 1, and hit I to insert the keyframe. And in the second noise texture, add frame 120 over this W value, and hit I to insert the keyframe. Now back to the frame 0, and here I change this number, which is the opposite, which we enter into the first noise texture, and here I put -1, and hit I to insert the again keyframe. Now we add the animation to this noise texture. So you can see if we play this animation, you can see our noise texture animation is fully looping, and there is no camera shake or any other brick animation in our scene. Now our animation is fully looping. Now back to the layout view, and here for this animation, I select the cycle render engine, because cycle is more realistic than EV, and also enter into the rendered view. Now here you can see we are in a rendered view of our wavy tunnel like pattern, and here I select it and also hit this render region. Now you can see we are in fully rendered view in our camera. This is the final render of our wavy tunnel like patterns. So in this way, using the geometry node and also along with the shader node, you can easily create this type of pattern or a motion graphic effects. Thanks for watching.